Foggy versus WFZ. Historically, this actually goes in Foggy's favor. However, if we think back to pre 1.30 days, this used to be Foggy's weakest matchup. With the keeper coming in, finally Foggy was able to find a better answer, was looking much better against Undead indeed. But the keeper domination is no longer the case. Keeper is certainly still playable against Undead, but I really wouldn't know who to consider the favorite here. WFZ was in quite the slump for a long time as well, but seems to be back in on the third rank of Undeads around the world. And now we're gonna get to see here who looks better today in their first match of the day. So, on the left-hand side, it's WFZ spawning with a ghoul build. With a very early ghoul move out. This is kind of not really a WFZ special, it's more like a Lucifer special. We saw this recently being incorporated by Happy as well. This ghoul, the hope, the gamble early on is you want to look for an Ancient of War in a greedy creep camp position and want to punish that by pulling out the creeps and canceling the Ancient of War. But the greedy creep camp spot would be this one right here at the marketplace. Or perhaps if you put the Ancient of War closer to the creeps, but it's a safe creep camp. And the question is, what is the first hero? It is the Keeper of the Grove. We've been seeing many more Demon Hunter plays once again recently. But, sorry, caught off guard right now. But Foggy is not really a Demon Hunter player, never has been. Back in the Demon Hunter days, this is when he was the weakest against Undead. One base versus one base is usually what Demon Hunter entails against Undead. And Foggy, he wants to play with expansions, he wants to get the economic lead, and the Keeper, probably the better choice for this. Very aggressive DK play early. Coming over with the coil first, looking for last hit steals. That's of course something you can do against the Keeper. Demon Hunter with mana burn, that would be harder to do against. Foggy did not make an archer, by the way. That's pretty interesting. This looks like a build against Orc.
A player's forces are under attack.
No archer, Hunter's Hall right away. Okay. I'm not sure if I've seen this before. Like, there was a time in 1.30 when we saw quite a bit of Huntress expansion play, even against Undead, with some Hippogriffs thrown into the mix on tier 2, interestingly. Of course, the big benefit of Huntresses is they're pretty good early game. They're definitely good early game. They don't die too easily as well, so you can be a little bit more... can afford a few more micro mistakes early on. But the big downside of Huntresses is that they're very weak in the late game. They are pretty awful against tier 3 Undead, which is what Undead relies on pretty much all the time on the tier 3 tech. So, very certain we're going to be seeing this. Also very weak against high level Undead heroes. DK gets level 2 here with the ghouls creeping simultaneously. And double crypt play by WFZ. He's going to be going Gargs here very soon. Is that inspired by the Huntresses? Or was that his plan from the get-go? I'm not sure. Continues to creep with the ghouls by themselves. DK still looking for an expansion. It has to be expansion. Like, this is so early game centric. Keeper, Huntresses, good early game. Really bad late game. So, Foggy needs to transition into something powerful in the late game. And it's not going to be the units. It's not going to be the hero. So he needs the expansion. With Keeper Hunts, you have no choice but to play expansion. So, here comes the natural creep now. And this is going to be the expansion here by Foggy. Expanding on the spot, not proxy. So it's not that late, but it's not that fast either. And tier 2 is about to be done here for WFZ. Still a lot of gold left, and we'll be going into Gargs here soon. Question is he going to be adding a Lich right away, or is he going to be delaying this? We do see that being delayed sometimes. Pretty passive play here from WFZ after the first bit of harass. He was satisfied, I guess, with the delay of the expansion, and then lets Foggy have it a little bit later on. Scout Skeletons so far for WFZ have not confirmed the expansion, but he must know. This is Keeper Hunts. This has to be either expansion or AP push. We've actually been seeing some AP pushes on the highest level. It was Moon playing it recently against 120. WFZ losing a ghoul to the creeps is not exactly ideal, but it's only a single ghoul. It's not gonna be the end of the world, I imagine. Alchemist second, tier 2 done for Foggy as well. What is he doing is the question. Double lures. No Hippo play, but it's gonna be Dryad play here instead. Obviously he's gonna need some anti-air against these gargoyles. At the moment, only the 2 heroes can attack him, not the Huntresses. He's not going heavier into Huntresses, which I think is a good choice. Hunts, again, are just really weak late game units. First 2 gargoyles are out. Of course, they won't have enough firepower to cancel the Tree of Life anymore. But might be able to get a shop cancel. Might be able to get a cancel on the Entangled. Oh, and a counter expansion with the Lich. Good scout, though, with the Wrath of Nature with the Treant. And the Wisp was ready for the detonate. Very nicely done. So the counter expansion is going to be made quite a bit harder. Acolyte is moving out. WFZ trying a style that players like Happy and also 120 don't really like playing much anymore against Night Elf. The counter expansion. Counter expansion is extremely strong against Night Elf, especially with Keeper. Basically, the Undead is going to be heavily favored. If this expansion comes up, WFZ is in a great position. But getting it up is the difficulty. First Gargoyle falls. And yeah, Foggy, he's, I guess, forced to defend over here. If WFZ loses one or two Gargoyles, but manages to get the expansion up, this is going to be good for him. I wonder if these Huntresses shouldn't be walking across, trying to get the cancel. So Wisp scouts it again, sees Expo at less than half. This could be good enough for a cancel. Good timing though by WFZ, bring the ghouls out right away. There is now a slaughterhouse as well, so we're going to have statues coming in. And more Gargs. Foggy creeping up in the meantime. And I wonder, might that be the mistake right here? The mid-game mistake by Foggy? If he brings the heroes, I think a cancel is very likely on this Haunted. But he doesn't bring the heroes, so the Huntresses by themselves can't do it. So yes, the Blight was dispelled earlier on, but the expansion is still coming up. Without really a delay. That's a danger. That's a big danger for Foggy. How's he going to be playing this now? Foggy must know he's not going to be favored in 2-base versus 2-base. So, does he have to push? Does he have to go all in before the expansion has paid off? Perhaps he does. If Night Elf plays more late game centric heroes like Panda, like Demon, like maybe even Warden, then 2-base versus 2-base is doable for Night Elf. But Keeper is an early game hero. He falls off heavily in the late game. Alchemist is alright, but he's not an insane late game carry either. So, Foggy, he's under the gun now. Foggy's under pressure. He has to make something work. WFZ realizes this right here is his win condition. As long as the expansion remains standing, he should have a decent chance. Plenty of Treants being summoned. The defensive Ziggurat/towers aren't ready yet. And Foggy's going in. This may be the attack that will decide the game here already. Not too many Gargs to put in the damage. WC needs to buy time. If he gets Spirit Towers up here, it's going to be very tough for these Dryads to break him. Dryad's very good on the battlefield, especially against ghouls, but very bad against towers. A couple of ghouls are falling. Towers come up though. 2 towers in production. WZ has to buy more time for these towers. Also, only 2 acolytes here, so not too much repair to keep these buildings up. Shop is about to finish. WZ is doing a good job though. Going back and forth with his units. Oh, the DK. It's definitely in a bit of trouble. Could be forced into TP here. The Keeper does have the Entangle ready. Oh, never mind. There's heal pots here, of course. DK is next to the shop, so there is heal pots. Foggy takes out one of the Acolytes, reducing the mining, reducing also the repair possibilities. He tried for the DK with the Entangle Acid Bomb combo, but there was the potion to keep him safe. And this statue, by the way, This statue is keeping WFZ in this game! But he stops moving and gets attacked by the Alchemist, and he ticks down to the Acid Bomb. Big mistake by WFZ. He was supposed to be safe. He could have fallen back to his main, could have gotten another potion. That's... oh. That perhaps brings Foggy back into the game. If he could get a Lich kill here now as well, this would be tremendous for him. He's got the Entangle ready. Acid Bomb should be ready as well, but perhaps he wants to summon Treants instead. Keeper is now level 4, got another kill, I guess. And the mining here is minimal. Ancient of War is coming in, but it's going to be a third Spirit Tower here pretty soon, so this is going to be very well defended. In the meantime, do we have some kind of transition for Foggy? Not really, just Dryads, Dryads. 6 Dryads in queue. Missing a third lore, I guess, or Mercs, or something. Foggy could go for more Mercs. Dryad upgrades also looking pretty poor. The lumber management by Foggy, not the greatest, doesn't have enough wisps. And so much equity stuck in these lores, look at this.
Player's forces are under attack.
Macro doesn't seem to be the greatest here by Foggy. And I have to come back to this Merc Camp creep. That looked like a big mistake. Easier said than done, of course, though. If Foggy runs across the map, tries to cancel, and doesn't get the cancel, that's even worse for him. But Foggy is camping here between the two bases, so there's actually 0 mining right now. WFZ not going for a Necro at the expansion. That's always the risk, that the Acolytes will die and cannot be replaced. So Foggy, interesting situation now. The expansion is up, super well defended, but the Acolytes were killed and can't be replaced. WFZ at only 38 supply. Zeppelin would be the best thing ever right now for WFZ, but of course we don't have a lab on Echo Isles. Zeppelin to ferry over the Acolytes. Mass Acolyte move out. He's trying it again, but against Dryads, that's pretty hard. Dryads are busy with the Acolytes now, though, so they're taking quite a bit of damage from these Gargs. All Acolytes dead. Every single Acolyte taken out. What a weird game. This game is about Acolyte availability and stuff. That normally never happens. And Foggy's, of course, always mining from 2 bases. He's got plenty of production. 2 upgrades on the Dryads. It still amazes me that not more players are prioritizing armor more. It's so important for these Dryads to boost their survivability. Of course, no orb yet either, so no bonus damage here on these Dryads because WC still only tier 2. He's gonna regret not having a Necro at the expansion so much. It's a lot of Dryads dying though. This is a lot of experience for the undead heroes. Keeper back in the main, full mana with the staff. Staff towards the Moonwells. One of Foggy's favorite moves. Now might be the time for WFZ to send out Acolytes. 2 are moving over. No upgrades on the Gargs, by the way. Oh, but Foggy's waiting for them. Foggy's doing this pretty well. Coils the Acolyte, trying to save it that way. This should be favoring Foggy, right? WFZ, he's never able to get the economy going, but he's getting a lot of Dryad kills. Again, it's a lot of experience. And finally an Acolyte arrives. This is the first one in forever. Has to set up a Necro. Absolutely has to. There we go. Goes for the Necro. Lich full mana on WFZ, by the way. Could be blasting out some Novas against these Treants. There's no reason not to, really. But more Gargs are coming in. Dryads finally now with an armor upgrade. That Acolyte is gonna fall. This would be a big cancel here. Canceling the Necro for Foggy might be necessary, actually. Good micro by WFZ, keeping these Gargs alive as much as he can. And always with the superior numbers. So here come the Treants. Again, Necro cancel would be a big one. Really big one. Can he get it? He needs to Nova these Treants. He should have, maybe. They're gonna expire actually in a second. Oh, and the Keeper's in trouble. If he walks into the slow tower range, he's going to be forced to TP out of this. Tries to control the Lich here with the Entangle, but there's more coils to be used, and the Necro is about to be done. So, full mining is going to start soon. And Foggy, he's been pressuring here. He's been putting a lot of damage onto WZ, but he's been losing a lot of Dryads. Foggy's still barely above 50, and no bank to speak of. Oh, Lich in serious trouble now, though. There's a TP that could be transferred. Oh, WFZ. Pretty sloppy mistakes here by WFZ. This is the second hero loss that was absolutely not necessary. And finally, transition is coming in for Foggy. Realizing that he can't break this anymore, or perhaps he's satisfied with the damage he did, is going to be going tier 3. And with that, most likely bears or MGs, I imagine. Still no dispel for WFZ, of course. Still not teching. There's more acolytes in the main, by the way. He's trying to send them around the long way. Oh, the Keeper in deep trouble. Could be forced into a TP here, perhaps. No, he's fine with his staff, I guess. WFZ beginning to mine here. Appropriately, finally. What this means, by the way, is this expansion will last much longer than this one. So, Foggy is still under pressure. Still has to make something work. More Dryads, more Dryads, more Dryads. More upgrades. 2/2 Dryads, pretty strong. And the best units against Dryads aren't Gargs, the best units are Fiends. So, I'm kind of expecting a transition soon by WFZ. Oh, but now the main is under attack. Losing the Lich earlier was such a big mistake. Well, losing the DK first was the first big one. And then losing the Lich. Both unnecessary. Both could have been prevented with a TP. Or with earlier mana pots. And now the shop is gone. That means no orb for the Lich when tier 3 is reached. And tier 3 is still pretty far away, actually. Foggy now with a big army. Finally had the time, finally stopped losing all of his Dryads. Oh, and the Lich spawns into a surround. Again, TP is required to save that Lich. Coil TP is the play. He transfers it, and TP's... I thought he was going to go TP to the expansion. That's a risky TP. Okay, TP's way into the back. That was a good TP at least. Acid Bomb on the Lich, but no follow-up damage. There's 2 Spirit Towers up now. Only single crypt production. WZ needs a new crypt at the expansion. Oh, and now the DK, of course, doesn't have the TP anymore. Entangle finds him. Right-click, follow-up. DK dropping low. Level 3 Entangle, and the DK dies! This one, I don't blame him for. That one was hard to prevent. But the 2 hero losses earlier, that's what's costing WFZ the game, as it seems. It's not over yet necessarily, but I mean... You know, the supply, of course, is looking horribly bad. But the supply is a little bit deceiving. It's only Dryads. It's not the scariest supply ever. And there's still towers in the main. And Foggy is committed in deep. There's a TP for Foggy to get out if he needs to. If he gets the Lich kill, though, this would be tremendous. There's a little exit way for the Lich over here. Oh, but he's getting entangled. A lot of damage. Entangle Acid Bomb. Age-old combo. And the Lich will die. Foggy must be close to level 6, right? Yeah, he is. I haven't seen Tranquility in a while. Big damage by Foggy. WFC's at 20 supply. He's got a lot of gold, actually.
A town is under siege.
He needs more production at the expansion. A few sloppy mistakes are costing WFZ this game. Tavern Revive on the Lich. Goes for the Invul and the Staff. Into the main. Okay. Needs to break out of that entangle with the Invul, and he does. Forces the counter Invul. No entangle right now for the keeper, but he's got really fast mana regen now, so he doesn't have to wait long. Foggy, what's coming? Chims. Don't like that choice. Fiends and Gargs are already pretty good weapons for WFZ, and if you go Chims, you just increase their effectiveness. I guess it gives you a siege option though. If he's using... Alright, Corrosive Breath, you know what? I'm okay with that. Chims for fighting, not good. Chims for killing buildings, I can get behind that, I guess. WFZ's Lumber now is the big problem. Going for the Altar replacement at the expansion. Because he can't Tavern Revive because he doesn't have enough Lumber. Was WFZ ever at 50 supply this game, by the way? Lich does get the orb, finally.
A player's forces are under attack.
Yeah, but not going for a Necro earlier, that was probably also a mistake. But the hero losses were the big ones. The first two. GG, that's it. 1-0 for Foggy. The counter expansion, which I still think can be viable, is not quite successful here in game 1 for WFZ. Okie doke. Oh. So, we're gonna have map 2 coming up here in just a second. WFZ, is he gonna try something different now? Nowadays, from the top undeads from 1 to 0 and happy, we see all-ins pretty much every single game. 1 to 0 was experimenting with counter expansions a while back, and nowadays trying more with fast expansions against Night Elf as well. But in the big tournaments, in the high stakes games, normally he also plays all-ins, just like Happy, of course. Happy, really not a fan of 2-base play versus Night Elf. WFZ with the counter expansion attempt game 1 failing. Is he going to be going more towards the standard meta build, which would be tier 3 rush, destroyers, fiends, and then all in against the expansion? Can be very good if well executed and if the early game allows for it, but always comes at a risk, of course. If the all in fails, then the game is over almost every time. Not 100% necessarily. 2-base versus 1-base, or 1-base versus 2-base I should say, can still work with superior hero levels, especially when facing a keeper. But we're gonna get more into that in just a moment. Thank you very much. Vala Bill Yayo for the sub. And now it's time for our second game. Foggy in the lead. In the bottom left, and I expect him certainly to go for the keeper fast expansion once again. But it might not be Dryads, it might be air here again. We've been seeing more and more Dryads though. Moon tried it against 120 and failed on one map at least. Perhaps that is where Foggy got some inspiration from. Thank you very much, Danface, for the sub, and QPax with the €5. Greetings from Poland. Thanks for great content. Keep going. Thank you very much, man. Very nice of you to say. WFZ tried it with a ghoul build opening in the previous game and now is going with a delayed crypt, aka the happy build. Looks like a Ted Fiend build to begin with, but then probably actually adds in more ghouls. 5 ghouls is the number that Happy chooses, and 120 has been picking up that build a little bit as well. Has the benefit of getting to tier 3 very, very fast, and then is able to hit with a good destroyer timing, 1 destroyer, 1 statue, 3 fiends, 5 ghouls, and 2 or 3 heroes to all in against the expanding Night Elf player. And that attack is supposed to hit before the expansion has paid off much. Normally, then ideally... Whoa! I'm sorry, guys. I didn't even check the altar because I was so sure it was Demon Hunter. I was so sure it was Keeper, I mean. Not Demon Hunter. This is the first time I'm seeing Foggy play Demon against Undead in a very long time. Demon Hunter is much, much harder to be able to pull off the fast expansion. DK did not go for Coil, of course. He saw the Demon early, so he still has the skill point available. Should be Aura. Kind of surprised he's not choosing Aura. Maybe he wants to bait more mana burns or something. Yeah, with Demon, you cannot reliably get a fast expansion at all. So expansions can still be a thing, but will most certainly be something for the later stages. Perhaps tier 2 expansion with Naga, perhaps tier 3 expansion. But Foggy is a player who normally is pretty reliant on expansions. So yeah, this choice surprises me a lot. And I imagine WFZ as well. Like against Demon Hunter, this build is really bad. This build, one of the reasons why it's chosen outside of the fast tech is that you don't go heavy on the ghouls. Because ghouls are very bad against keeper play in general. You can entangle 1 by 1 and die very quickly. But against Demon Hunter, you absolutely want to have a lot of ghouls to have a lot of normal damage to pressure him. Oh, here comes the expansion. Pretty early on. And this could easily be cancelled if there was a scout. And I think this is another small mistake by WFZ. He lost the Acolyte here early, running into the Ensnare. You want to try to keep this Acolyte alive at all times to always look for expansions like this one. Look for it here, or maybe here, or if the Night is being really sneaky, over here. So yeah, losing the Acolyte. The first small mistake of this game. Sentry Ward helps with WFZ's scouting, but he's not looking for the expansion. And now Archer numbers are pretty high, so it would be harder for the Ghoul Gang to find the cancel. Could still be doable. I love this Wisp by Foggy. Very important. You want to cover the avenues here. With his main army, Foggy is covering this entrance towards the expansion, and with the Wisp, the other avenue. So this is actually a pretty hard cancel on this Tree of Life. Looking pretty good so far for Foggy. If the expansion comes up, this is still a very fast expansion indeed. This is pretty nice for the Ukrainian. Tier 3 rush by WFZ. Right away going to the Black Citadel. And now for Foggy, it must be a Naga, I think. Panda would be extremely greedy. Oh, he supply blocked a little. But here we go. Here comes the Moonwell. And there we go. Naga comes out of the tavern. And with Naga plus Archer Demon Hunter, you can creep up and steal the enemy Ogre Magi pretty well. Classic Night Elf play. Nowadays we've been seeing much more Naga second from Undead as well. Again, sometimes with boots, sometimes without. And that is the idea here for WFZ as well. He's going to the tavern, but map positioning here really, really important. Here comes WFZ's Naga. Foggy doesn't have boots, by the way, which makes this Demon Naga combo quite a bit weaker, actually. The strength is the focus fire on single targets, and the movement speed helps a lot to add in more damage and to chase for kills. But Foggy saved the money of the boots to go for the expansion instead. Expansion keeps on walking over. Foggy gets 1 kill, prevents creeping on the undead side. Not creeping too much himself either, but he's getting the expansion into position, which is the most important thing. And is playing wins. Oh, isn't that the strategy he developed against Happy a long time ago? Demon, expansion, and then tier 2. I don't remember if he played actually Hippo Riders or Fairies. Or Talons. But it was the wins. So Foggy was saving a lot of money on tier 1 is the thing here to take away. No boots for the demon. No Tele Staff, no Hunter's Hall. This is how Foggy is able to get this expansion up quickly, along with archers, along with the second hero. So a very precise build, which is pretty cool, but also has a few shortcomings. No staff, no boots on the demon can be a problem early game, can be a problem later on, and these are still bad units. Hippo Riders, Fairy Dragons are not very good fighters. Dryads, probably stronger. But Foggy's build does not allow for that Hunter's Hall. It's a very well crafted build, one of Foggy's biggest strengths. Foggy is a very strong player, as we know. Micro. His micro is not bad, but it's not on the same level as many of his adversaries. But builds and strategies, this is where Foggy excels. And preparing specific builds for specific opponents. Demon Hunter levels were lacking here for a little bit, but now getting more and more camps under his belt. Will be reaching level 3 soon. Creeping this camp without a destroyer is taking WFZ forever. He will be getting it now, though. The Lich comes out, and it's time for the orb.
Player's forces are under attack.
And when there's no keeper, there's not even really much use in having a destroyer. There's actually 0 use. Destroyer form upgrade is still coming in. It's of course not expensive, but it's research time in the slaughterhouse that is not being used for something else. A-bomb, for example, would be much better than this. But it's such a natural thing to go for. Undead reaches tier 3 and goes destroyer right away. It's just kind of in the blood of undead players oftentimes. And Foggy's waiting for the attack towards the expansion. Foggy has the expansion, and now it's just creeping. Getting his heroes as strong as possible. The longer this goes, the better it should be for Foggy. And he's got the Demon Hunter, which is a way better late game hero than a Keeper is. And there we go. Attack comes in. Foggy TP's home. Was creeping as much as he could before going in. And hits the level 3 with a Naga here with a Ghoul kill pretty early on. Fog Lightning coming towards the DK. Lots of damage on him already. And more mana burn could be used. Oh, that was really close there. DK dropping down to less than 20 HP for a moment. And now there's very few coils only left to be used. And when you play against the Keeper with the mass coils, the Fiends can survive for a very long time. But with the Demon burning so much, not really possible. And the Cold Arrow onto the Fiends as well is actually super effective. That, in addition with no real high amount of coils, this is working out really well. This build is working out really well for Foggy. Oh, Lich forced into the invul, but Foggy has survived the scariest point in the game. The big timing push from the undead side. And I think WFZ just misread this. I think WFZ thought it was going to be Dryads Bears. Because going Naga against Mass Air doesn't make sense. Going Destroyer against Mass Air, when there's no Keeper, doesn't make sense either. So, yeah, it seemed like WFZ was expecting something entirely different. And now, the Undead is in a lot of trouble. In a ton of trouble, actually. Hero levels is the only saving grace for WFZ. Hero levels can save undeads even in the worst of circumstances. But Foggy has the best counter to the undead late game win condition, the hero levels, with the Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter is an anti-hero hero, kind of. He's a hero disabler. In large scale, ultra late game big fights like 80 versus 80 supply, Demon Hunter can sometimes be underwhelming because he has a tough time at dealing with masses of units, but he's great at disabling heroes, especially when the supply numbers are rather low. Foggy not interested in creeping at the moment. Wants to put some pressure onto the main. Hunt down some ghouls, go for acolytes. That's of course pretty easily doable with Mass Air here with his Mass Hippogriffs. Has the TP obviously to get out. Otherwise this would be much too risky. And this serves a double purpose. It buys time for the expansion of course, but it also slows down the creeping of the undead heroes. Once again, undead hero levels can be the only saving grace here for WFZ. He needs like 4-4-3. Something like that. Maybe 5-4-3 to have a chance anymore in this game. Foggy finding survivability items is exactly what he needs. As long as the demon stays alive and keeps burning, this is looking very good for Foggy. No TP right now to get towards the expansion and no Nature's Blessing, so this tree could be dying quickly if Foggy doesn't repair fast enough. Undead hero levels are 3-2-2. That doesn't look like it's enough. Foggy at the shop, going for more potions. Lich to start this fight off, already out of mana. Demon running in. The DK being kept in the back to prevent the mana burn on him is really good. But the statues out of position. Absolutely no statue uptime here to help the fiends in the front row. Demon forced to use that heal pot right away. But still that Ankh. That Ankh is actually so good for him. Taking a lot of damage, drawing so much fire from the undead side. And will lose his first life almost. Heal Scroll keeps him alive for a little bit longer, and actually the first hero kill goes to Foggy with the kill on the Naga. And now the DK, despite not being burned that much, finds himself out of mana, can't coil anymore, can't heal anymore, doesn't have a mana pot either. The Lich falls, and the staff saves the demon before the Ankh is even necessary. GG out by WFZ. Foggy takes the 2-0, looking really strong.